You believe self-mastery means building an iron will. You assume stacking habits, waking up early, and forcing yourself through daily friction makes you unbreakable. That illusion breaks most men. Adding armor over your strengths achieves nothing. Mastery requires aggressively auditing your structural failures. Why do the most disciplined routines collapse under the slightest emotional pressure? Why does a single passing comment from a coworker or a moment of isolation shatter months of progress? Because you apply force to the wrong structural point. The Greeks encoded this reality in the myth of Achilles. You know the story. Dipped in the river Styx, invincible everywhere except the heel where his mother held him. We treat the heel as a quaint fairy tale about physical weakness. It functions instead as a precise architectural blueprint on systemic vulnerability. Paris defeated Achilles by identifying the single node where the system possessed zero defense. He found the trigger. Look at modern structural engineering. When aerospace engineers test an aircraft fuselage, they ignore the thickest titanium. They hunt for the microfractures in the rivets. They run thousands of stress simulations to find the exact resonance frequency that will tear the metal apart. When a plane goes down, the strongest parts are irrelevant. The ignored trigger point cascades into total catastrophic collapse. You operate the exact same way. You have specific resonance frequencies that tear your discipline apart. You have trigger points, certain environments, specific tones of voice from authority figures, biological states like exhaustion or the quiet isolation of a Sunday evening. When these nodes are struck, your executive function goes offline. You fall to the baseline of your unfortified triggers. How do you stop this cascade? How do you fortify a system that actively hides its own flaws from you? You stop looking at your victories, and you forensically examine your collapses. You run a stress simulation on your own psychology. Document the exact moment the breach occurs. Ask yourself if the failure triggers from a sudden spike of anxiety when your status is threatened, or the urge to numb out when the work becomes abstract. Isolate the variable. Name the exact trigger. Consider Odysseus. He wanted to hear the siren's song, but he knew the trigger was fatal. He lacked the willpower to resist the urge to steer the ship into the rocks. He understood his own vulnerability perfectly. So, what did he do? He engineered a physical system. He had his crew fill their ears with beeswax, and he ordered them to bind him tightly to the ship's mast. He removed his own agency before the trigger could even activate. He designed a macro system to survive his own guaranteed micro-failure. You must build your own mast. If your trigger is the algorithmic dopamine loop late at night, trying harder to put the phone down fails. You must sever the router's power through an automated macro system. If your vulnerability is the collapse of confidence around aggressive peers, faking dominance fails. You must restructure your environment to remove their leverage entirely, or systematically exposure test yourself in controlled micro settings. Until your emotional spike flatlines, you have very little time left to figure this out. The modern world functions as a hyper-optimized machine built to exploit human vulnerability. Corporations map your digital heel. Social algorithms map your psychological heel. If you fail to map your triggers first, external systems will use them to pilot your behavior. Audit your weak points. Build the structural defenses. Master yourself before the world does it for you.